Welcome back to English B Honeysuckle Unit 7. The story Fair Play by Munshi Premchand is in 3 parts, but for our convenience we have divided it into 4 parts on the basis of paragraphs. Parts 1, 2 and 3 have already been discussed. Today we are going to discuss the last part, that is part 4, that consists of paragraphs 15 and 16 of the story. As always, here are a few points for you to note. Recalling the previous lesson, model reading of the text, explanations of key words and phrases, comprehension questions with answers, and summary of the paragraphs discussed. Here is what we did in the previous lesson. Shahu nominated Jumman as the head punch. This shell-shocked Algu, as he thought Jumman must take an opportunity of taking revenge upon him, his friend turned enemy. But Jumman's personal feelings were overpowered by his inner voice, which prevented him from taking advantage of the dignity of high post. Jumman did not take advantage of his high designation, nor did he use his influence to punish Algu, who was his friend once. What happened next? Let us take up the last part of the story to find out the answer. So, let us read paragraph 15. Both Algu and Sahu stated their cases. They were cross-examined and the case was considered deeply. Then Jumman stood up and announced, "It is our opinion that Sahu should pay Algu the price of the bullock. When Sahu bought the bullock, it suffered from no disability or disease. The death of the bullock was unfortunate, but Algu cannot be blamed for it." Algu could not contain his feelings. He stood up and said loudly over and over again, "Victory to the Panchayat! This is justice! God lives in the voice of the Panch." We have come across words and phrases like stated their cases, cross-examined, unfortunate, and contained. Let us explain them. Stated their cases. It means presented their views or matter. Cross-examined. It means interrogated or questioned. Unfortunate. Here it means accidental. Contain means restrain or keep emotion within control. Victory means triumph or win. Here is a set of question with answers to comprehend the paragraph just read out. Who cross-examined whom? Why? The Panchayat members cross-examined Algu and Sahu as they were engaged in a dispute over a deal and sought the decision of the Panchayat. How was the case considered? Every minute detail of the case was looked upon very seriously. Who was nominated the head punch and what was his decision? Jumman was nominated the head punch. His decision was that Sahu must pay Algu his due, the price of the bullock, as at the time of sale and purchase, the bullock had no suffering or disability of any kind. How did Algu react to the verdict? He grew emotional to hear the verdict. He could not believe Jumman would give the judgment that impartially. Why was Algu repeatedly saying victory to the Panchayat? His repeatedly saying this shows he was overwhelmed with the head punch's decision. Explain, God lives in the voice of the punch. God's mercy comes through the voice of the judge. He comes down to earth in the form of judge and gives his judgment in an unbiased manner to retain sense of justice in us. Here are a few words to summarize the paragraph just discussed. Both Algu and Sahu expressed their matter before the village council. They were cross-questioned and every minute detail of the case was looked upon very seriously. Jumman heard everything. He stood up to declare that in their views, Sahu should pay Algu the price of the bullock, as at the time of sale and purchase, the bullock had no suffering or disability of any kind. The death of the bullock was accidental, for which Algu was not to blame. Algu became emotional to hear this. He stood up and declared that it was the victory of the Panchayat and a real justice. God rests in the voice of the Panch. Algu grew so emotional that he could not control himself. He shouted at the top of his voice that it was the victory to nobody but the Panchayat. How did he express his feelings to his friend turned enemy and now in the seat of judgment? Let's read the remaining part to get the answer. So, let us read the paragraph 16. Soon after, Jumman came to Algu, embraced him and said, "Since the last panchayat, I had become your enemy. Today, I realized what it meant to be a Panch. A Panch has no friend nor enemy. He knows only justice. Let no one deviate from the path of justice and truth for friendship or enmity." Algu embraced his friend and wept, and his tears washed away all the doubt of misunderstanding between them. The words and phrases that we have come across are embraced, realized, justice, deviate, and doubt of misunderstanding. Let's explain them. Embraced, it means hugged or clasped in the arms with affection. Realized, it means accomplished or became fully aware. Justice, it means impartiality or fairness. Deviate, it means turn away from. Doubt of misunderstanding, signs of misinterpretation. Now here is a set of questions with answers to comprehend the paragraph just read out. What did Jumman do soon after he gave his verdict? He hugged Algu after he had given his verdict. Why did Algu embrace his friend with tears in eyes? Algu embraced his friend with tears of joy in his eyes. It was his tears of joy because his friend Jumman had realized how difficult it was to become a Panch. Who confessed his fault? Jumman confessed his fault. How long had they been enemy before the day of judgment? They had been enemy for a few months since the last panchayat. What is Jumman's realization? His realization is that justice and right things are above everything, including friendship. What is your idea about justice? No one should deviate from the path of justice and truth in any circumstances. We have summarized the paragraph in a few words. Here it is. The panchayat session over, Jumman went to Algu, held him tight with his friendly hug and felt sorry for being his enemy since the last panchayat. That was the day he had realized the importance of a Panch in the judgment seat. A Panch put impartial judgment before friends or foes. Nobody should ever stray the path of justice and truth, either for friendship or enmity. Algu clasped his friend in a hug, acknowledging tears that cleansed all the misunderstanding between them. Now, at the end of the story, here is a short question. What is the story all about? Let me answer in brief. The story is about two friends who have a fair sense of justice. However, due to a bitter quarrel, an enmity develops between them. This leads to a misunderstanding and a crack appears in their friendship. Nevertheless, one of them understands and executes the true spirit of justice, which helps the other realize that justice and right things are above everything, including friendship. The friends acknowledge their fault and are soon reconciled. This much is for today. We will be back with a new lesson in our next class.